Hi, my name is Will Nunziata, and I'm a New York City-based director and creator of theater, television, and film, and I'm also a proud FENIX Global Artist Ambassador. Today, I am so excited to be speaking with the acclaimed Australian multi-hyphenate. She is an award-winning filmmaker and actress. Her name, Kelly Walker. For more on Kelly, you can read more about her right below this video, but in the meantime, here is a sneak peek at the incredible Kelly.
Liz, I was thinking, and I'm not sure.
Wow. Help yourself.
Oh. I'm sorry.
You must be Abby. Margot.
Hi.
Warning, when I make the coffee, it's nuclear strong. Liz spills some water over a few beans and thinks she has an espresso.
You trashing me to my friends? I'll run before that shrimp boat leaves without you.
Watch out. She's grumpy in the morning.
Well, hello, Kelly. How are you?
I'm great, Will. How are you?
I am so great, and I'm doing better because I have gotten the opportunity this past week to research all about you, and my goodness, you are truly a jack of all trades. Or would it be Jill of all trades? Is that a thing?
Jill.
A Jill
Yep.
of all trades.
Jill of all trades.
Well, Kelly, you're amazing. I mean, you're an award-winning filmmaker and actress, but you also have some special hobbies and skills up your sleeve that we will get into. But first and foremost, I want to ask you, where were you born, and when did you realize that you wanted to be a part of the arts?
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in Australia, in Brisbane. And my aunt lives in Los Angeles. And kind of growing up, I would get to come to LA every couple of years. And she's in the industry. She's a sitcom writer. And I was so enamored by what she was doing, and also seeing a woman behind the camera and bossing men around, and just this like, I loved that people were attracted to her because of her intelligence and her humor. And I was like, I want to be that. So it kind of started from there. And then right when I finished school, I was on a plane to America, packed up my life, and here we are, 17 years later.
Oh, I love it. Well, I mean, it seems like you were surrounded by badass women your whole life, and now you've become one yourself and just doing everything that you do so unapologetically. I want to dive into your acting career and, of what you've been able to do thus far. Are there any moments or experiences that stick out for you?
Yeah, I really loved filming Swamp Thing in Wilmington, North Carolina. It was such an amazing cast. I loved working with crew that were locals from North Carolina. They were just the most genuine, best conversations. And I loved getting to be this character that worked on a shrimp boat, and I learned how to ride a boat and pull crawdads from the water. All things I didn't think I'd be able to do.
I love it. And in addition to your acting, you're also an incredible award-winning creator and filmmaker. I want to talk a little bit about the process. Being a director myself, I love talking with other creators of the planet and kind of their process. Obviously, it's going to depend on the assignment, but talk about a little bit first in terms of the difference between how you approach, or is there a difference with how you approach maybe a short film and a full length?
I think it's the same thing, because at the end of the day, it's just about making sure everyone's on the same page of the truth of the story. Because it's like we're all going to bring our own creative interpretations to something, but as long as the truth is in our heart, that's the common denominator for, I think, a successful, or at least a fully realized story. So whether it be a short or a feature. One thing I like to do, this is a little silly, I'm a terrible artist. I can't draw whatsoever. So I make these things, I've coined them Barbie boards. And basically I made a little studio for my Barbie dolls, and I will take pictures of them in like kind of how I see the shots. And then I bring them into Photoshop and I create the background. And basically I have an entire book of the film before we even start shooting. And it is game changer, because the art department, wardrobe, camera, editor, they all can see what's in my head before we even start. So that is kind of the across the board thing. No matter what I do, the Barbies come to play.
That is amazing. I love the fact that I've never, nor will I ever hear of anything like that. And that is just, again, unapologetically Kelly Walker. And I love that so much.
I'll send you some pictures.
Please do. Because, well, no, I won't steal that. I promise.
Feel it. I encourage everyone to try it. It's the best thing that happened to me.
But I mean, it makes sense because here you are, you're like, because obviously you're looking at 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional beings and figures, and being able to get it out of your head must also be like a relief. You know what I mean?
Yeah, where you're seeing what's working and what's not. And also you're seeing it as a big picture and you go, oh man, the 3 scenes I just set up all have the same shots. That's going to be really boring for 10 minutes of the film. Let's switch it up. But you wouldn't know that shooting things out of order and not thinking of it in a streamlined situation. And who doesn't like to play with Barbie dolls? I'm just saying.
I do.
It's the
Confession.
best.
I mean, since I was little. Thank you. I want to also talk about, you know, you've had multiple Oscar qualifiers, correct, in the short films that you've created. And of the ones that you have created, are there any that stick out for you in terms of, you know, obviously they're all your babies, right? But were there any that you're like, I'm really, really proud of that one?
You know, I'm super proud of the Brownlist. It was created by Ursula Taharian, who wrote it and also starred in it. And it was my first directing, like professional directing job. And she had called up my husband and I and asked us if we'd co-direct this thing. And I was like, Urs, I don't direct. And she goes, you've written shorts, you've produced, you've acted in them, you've edited them. I'm also a video editor. It's my day job. She's like, you can direct. So there was something so beautiful about someone else believing in me before I even knew to believe in myself. And you can never get back your first time. And there was this one moment on our second day of shooting where I stepped outside. I hadn't had a break all day and I was exhausted and I was sweaty and we were behind. And I stepped outside to get some air and this big smile came over my face. And I was like, just grinning. And I was like, oh my God, I love this so much. Like, I didn't think I'd ever love something as much as I loved acting. And here I was, exhausted and never happier. So that one, and then the journey of the film festivals, Urs and I, and sometimes Ryan, kind of traipsing around the country. And I have the best memories. I've collected so many good memories from that short. So that one for sure.
Kelly, I love that. And you know, I can relate. I was a singer performer for 25 years, from when I was 10 to 35, but I always knew I wanted to be a creator and a director. And it was when that first real, like, professional New York City directing gig, like, it was like a coming out. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
I mean, of course you do, but also, did you find that, like, when you looked back at your first, like, directing gig that really, like, stuck with you, it was like, wait, oh, that's why I did that, and then that, and then it was like all these tools led up to that moment. You were like, oh, I get it now. This is my bliss.
100%. And it's so funny you say that, because a couple of years leading up to that, I got really into my spirituality. And that was just for me. I didn't see it as being a thing about anything but for me. And getting into directing and learning patience and trust and, you know, how to perform under pressure. All the spirituality stuff I'd been working on was set up to kind of help me succeed as a director. But I would never have known that was going to be a part of the process.
I mean, not as probably as intense as you, but 2008, I came across a book at a Barnes & Noble that literally had a spotlight on, like, literally, and you know, I'm not speaking woo-woo. To my other friends, I apologize, but to you, you're like, Will, I see things all the time. It was on the book, The Secret, and literally, that book activated something for me in terms of being in touch with my vibration and the manifestation that I'd been doing naturally as a kid. I'm sure you have been too. I want to lean into a little bit more about not only your spiritual journey, but also you are a tarot card reader, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Talk to me a little bit about that, because I'm obsessed with tarot, and I'm not going to ask you to read me today because, well, if you do, like, you know, I'll obviously Venmo your price, but everyone's got to, you know, check you out in terms of that as well as all of the other talents you have. But talk to me a little about your spiritual journey and leaning into the tarot as well.
Yeah, tarot. My mom was a reader. Actually, the cards I use are my mom's cards that she got in the 80s, blessed by a gypsy. She was a reader. She used to read for me. I'm psychic. I can, I don't want to say see dead people, but I can talk, I can get messages. Let's call it that. I get messages from the other side. Was terrified of all of it. And then in my late 20s, I was like, let's lean into this. What does this look like if I do it safely? Because I think without having an understanding of how to work with the other side, you're kind of just open to anything. But once I started learning, like, okay, I can shut it off, I can turn it on, I can protect with the cards. And at first it became a hobby. It was just like, who wants me to read for you at a party? We've all had a couple of drinks. And then the more I was getting things right, or helping people, or like things were coming out because of the read they were getting, then their friends would come over and be like, can I get a read? And then their friends would be calling me or texting me like, I don't know you. So I kind of said, all right, I got to make this a little bit more of a business, because I want to keep reading, but I need to, like, anything's a cycle, right? So if I'm giving you energy, it needs to come back. So, in that sense, like charging for something that is spiritual does feel a little bit weird at first, but then you start to understand it's such an amazing experience to sit down across someone and you know nothing about them, and you have no idea if you're going to find out anything about them, and then all of a sudden things start flowing and the cards have the tarot Rider-Waite Coleman Smith deck I use. There's these images and bring things up, and then you're getting stuff, and then you're having this conversation and they're like, how do you know this? I'm like, I don't know. I love it as much as they do. It's such a dangerous, but in a positive way, a dangerous experience that is so fulfilling for not just the person I'm reading for, but also for myself.
It's incredible, Kelly. I love that. And I also love that, like, again, I look at your acting, I look at your spirituality, I look at your tarot, I look at you wanting to visit, that aunt in LA who does a thing where men look at her and she's like all of these things. I feel like it's like a funnel around you. And then like that first directing gives like, oh, tool in the belt. On top of all of that, you're incredibly inspiring. And on top of projects as well, I want to talk a little bit about your feature debut. Yes. My Fiona, which was recently.
Yeah, it just happened.
How did you do that all during COVID? Explain to me how it all happened.
Didn't do it before. We did it in 2019. We were set to premiere at March 22nd, 2020. We all know how that probably went down. So it was actually a really rough year in the sense of, you've been running this race, you've made your first feature. It's hard enough to raise the money, let alone film it, let alone finish it, and actually be happy with what you have. Like, that was the icing on the cake. And then you're ready to show people and go out in the world and talk about it, and then nothing. And it was really hard. And it was also a film that was not pandemic friendly. It's about a woman whose best friend passes away from suicide, and then the woman's kind of just trying to figure out who she is, what is her identity without this person, and then the trauma bonding of her and her best friend's wife, and kind of the gray shades of grief and mourning, and the gray shades of bisexuality. So you've got this whole thing that just did not sit in a pandemic year, because it's a bit deep and sad. And then finally, 2021, we're starting to go out with it. We should be distributed by end of this year. I can't say too much, but it should be coming out. Yeah, it's really cool. It's nice to, I don't want to say be done with it, but to see the chapter close, because it's been a long time having that year in between it all. I'm excited to have it like go off into the world and live its best life.
Well, I love it. And, and just a little bit about what you explained to me about My Fiona, this has been a time, obviously, where people have been forced to investigate the superfluous in their life and look for the things that really matter. And, I know I can speak on behalf of millions. I'm still working and moving through the grief. And it seems like that there are aspects of your film that now coming maybe closer to somewhat of a light at the end of the tunnel. I feel actually it could be a healing moment for people who see your film.
That's actually what I've been hearing. Isn't it funny? We'll go back to spirituality. It's funny how things really do work out the way they're supposed to. And you have to take that with the good and the bad, because I couldn't have seen that on the other side of the pandemic, this film would be relevant to so many more people, because we all experienced some form of grief last year. Because grief is really just, the loss of expectation, and then, make that big, small expectation of you and your partner staying together, expectation of you and your best friend living together the rest of your lives, like whatever it is, loss of a job. Yeah, it's been interesting. Even I've gotten other aspects from the film since seeing it after the pandemic and gone, yeah, I experienced that last year. I know that feeling.
Wow, that's incredible, Kelly. Well, I could speak to you forever, and I definitely will be speaking with you more, especially when it comes to the tarot. We'll
Yeah,
talk offline about that. But Kelly Walker, you have so many other projects obviously in the pipeline, and I want people to just continue to follow you in all that you do. For more on Kelly Walker, you can read more about her right below this video. And Kelly, I'm so grateful for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Will. This has been great.
Artists and bands struggle to make a living. In fact, only a small number of artists can live off their craft. For the 98% of artists that don't have the luxury of being signed to a label, it's tough. But artists deserve to live off their art. Wherever you are around the world, appreciation of music does not change. FENIX brings bands and their fans together, whilst allowing bands to properly monetize their passion. The FENIX app will directly connect bands and fans with no need for middlemen. We're utilizing the blockchain to give the power back to the artist once and for all. Join FENIX, join the change.